Book 1, The Lands of the United States. Stave 3. The Bounty Land Grants. The grants to individuals consist chiefly of bounties to soldiers and sailors of the War of 1812 and the Mexican War, and amount to about 73 million acres, for which transferable warrants were issued. Nearly all of this scrip passed into the hands of speculators, not one warrant in 500 having been located by or for the original holder. It has been estimated that, on average, the warrants did not yield the donees 25 cents per acre. But taking 50 cents as a basis, we are able to form an idea of the disproportion between the cost of the gift to the nation and the benefit to the soldiers. Leaving out of the calculation the few that have taken the land given them, we find that the government gave up a revenue of $91,067,500, which it would have received from the sale of the land at $1.25 per acre, in order to give the soldiers $36,427,000, or, in other words, every dollar the soldiers got cost the nation $2.50. Nor does this tell the whole story. Though some of this scrip was located by settlers who purchased it from brokers at an advance on the price paid soldiers, most of it has been located by speculators who, with the same capital, have been enabled to monopolize much more land than they could otherwise have monopolized, and to monopolize land even before it was offered at public sale. Suppose we estimate the advance which settlers have had to pay in consequence of this speculation at $2 per acre for the amount of transferred scrip. In that case, we have a tax upon settlers of $145,708,000, which, added to the loss of the government, gives a total of $236,775,500, given by the government and exacted from settlers in order to give the soldiers $36,427,000. And yet, the story is not told. To get at the true cost of this comparatively insignificant gift, we should also have to estimate the loss caused by dispersion, by the widening of the distance between producer and consumer, which the land speculation resulting from the issue of bounty warrants has caused. But here, figures fail us. Grants to states. The donations of land by the general government to individual states have been large. Besides special donations to particular states, the general donations are 500,000 acres for internal improvements, 10 sections for public buildings, 72 sections for seminaries, 2 sections in each township, or 1st to 18th, for common schools, and all the swamp and overflowed lands for purposes of reclamation. These grants have been made to the states, which contain public land, of land within their borders. In addition, all the states have been given 30,000 acres for each of their senators and representatives, for the establishment of agricultural colleges. If land is to be sold, it is certainly more just that the proceeds should go to the states in which it is located than to the general government, and the purposes for which these grants have been made are of the best. Yet, judging from the standpoint of a right land policy, which would give the settler his land at the mere cost of surveying and bookkeeping, even in theory, they are bad. For why should the cost of public buildings, or even of public education, be saddled upon the men who are just making themselves farms, who, as a class, have the least capital and to whom their capital is of the most importance? But whether right or wrong in theory, in practice, like the military bounties, these grants have proved of but little benefit to the states in comparison with their cost to the nation and settlers. As a general rule, they have been squandered by the states, and their principal effect has been to aid in the monopolization of land. How true this is will be seen more clearly when we come to look at the land policy of the state of California. The Agricultural College Grant. The Agricultural College grant was made in 1862 and has since been extended as the representatives of other states have been admitted. It aggregates 9,510,000 acres, and if extended to the territories as they come in, will take at least 11 million acres. This grant differs from the other state grants in this, that it is given to all states, whether they contain public land or not, those in which there is no public land being permitted to take their land in other states which do contain it. This feature makes this grant, in theory at least, the very worst of the grants, for it throws upon the settlers in new and poor states the burden of supporting colleges not merely for their own state, but for other and far richer states. For instance, the state of New York, the most populous and wealthy member of the Union, receives 990,000 acres, which must all be located in the poor far western states. Thus, to this old and rich state is given the power of taxing the settlers upon nearly 1 million acres in far-off and poor states for the maintenance of a college, which she is far more able to support than they are. If New York has located this land well and retains it, as I believe is the intention, in a very few years, she will be able to rent it for 1/4 or even 1/3 of the crop. That is, for the support of one of her own institutions, New York will be privileged to tax 50,000 people, 1,500 or 2,000 miles away, to the amount of 1/4 or 1/3 of their gross earnings. And as time passes and population becomes denser and land more valuable, the number of people thus taxed will increase, and the tax will become larger. The Cornell University, to which the New York grant has been made over, is a noble and beneficent institution. But will anyone say that it is just to throw the burden of its support upon the laboring classes of far-off states? The same thing is true of all the old and rich states, which are thus given the right to tax the producers of new and poorer states. That most of these states have sold this right to speculators at rates ranging from 37.5 to 80 cents per acre only makes the matter worse. But perhaps this injustice is even more evident in the case of those southern states, which do contain public land. The public land of Texas, of which there are some 80 million acres left, belongs to the state. That in the other southern land states was reserved for homestead entry by the Act of 1866. These states get the same amount of land under this grant as the others, but none of it is taken from their own lands, and their college scrip is now being plastered over the public lands in California and the Northwest, much of it being located here. California gets 150,000 acres under the Act. Yet, besides this, more than 750,000 acres of the land scrip of other states have been located here up to June of last year, and large amounts have since been located or are, on average, probably 50 cents per acre. What the giving of this paltry donation has cost us, we know too well. A great deal of the land thus located at a cost of to the speculator of 50 cents per acre has been sold to settlers at prices ranging from 5 to 10 per acre, much of it held for higher prices than can now be obtained, and a great deal of it being rented for 1/4 of the gross produce, the renter supplying all the labor and furnishing all the seed, while the land monopolization, of which this agricultural scrip has been one of the causes, has turned back immigration from California, has made business of all kinds dull, and kept idle thousands of mechanics and producers who would gladly have been adding to the general wealth. As badly as California has suffered, other states have suffered worse. Wisconsin is entitled to 210,000 acres, yet, up to June 1870, 1,111,385 acres had been located in that state with agricultural scrip. Nebraska gets only 90,000 acres, yet the farm scrip locations in Nebraska up to the same time were nearly 1 million acres.